So that competitive hunting spirit can be misused
Yeah.
in a way that would be the Scar instead of the Mufasa
Yeah.
narrative, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, but then there's this thing that Mitch is talking about, which I think shows up. Well, Abraham Maslow did the hierarchy of needs, puts a frame on this, and he says when people are navigating up through the different levels of need and they get to self-actualization, one of the things that emerges is this spirit that you're talking about. When you get somebody unstifled sufficiently that they can show up as the highest and best version of themselves, which is what he means by self-actualization, this thing emerges, and all of a sudden that person becomes, and he would say self-actualized would be his word,
Yep.
but he talks about they become creative, they become generous, they become, and it's this movement out of what we might call hyena land of just survival into this generous, driven, giving, creative, but not necessarily competitive, unless that is the highest and best use of them, right? Does that make sense, that distinction? Yeah. Because I watch people who are stifled, and they don't have language for how to be a lion. And they think being a lion looks a particular way, right? It's the warrior, it's the, all that kind of stuff. And when you start to get them into a space where they can have their version of this, wait, everyone doesn't think that way? It's like, no, dude, that's you.
Yeah.
That's your distinctiveness on display.
Yeah.
And they start to deliver it to the world. I'm not sure lion would be the metaphor they would identify with in that case, because I think the competitive nature of lion is and the hunt and all that, right?
Yeah, but
there's a merger there. But
I'm also not an animal.
Well, no, it's a metaphor.
So I think as you were saying that, I think one of the things that came to mind is I ate a lot of the wrong stuff
along the way.
Yes, I love that you brought that up because I did. I ate a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't have eaten because I was going after something so hard.
Right.
I mean, I could take you down the rabbit hole of stuff that I did, from firefighter to lawyer to nurse to PA, and I did everything at 110%.
Right.
Because then when I found out what I feel like God put me on earth to do, and then I could go after that with the same competitive mindset, the same competitive mentality, that lion that we're talking about, is an absolute game changer. It's not easy.
No.
But I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah.
And it's not work. I feel like it's hard, but it's not work.
Right. And that's when that moment happens for people, right? And it doesn't happen for everybody.
No.
Some people don't put the work in. Some people, circumstances make it incredibly difficult. But when it does, what you find is they all of a sudden are launched towards something, and you can't stop them.
Yeah.
They're going for it. They start to take risks that they've never taken before. They show up vulnerably in ways that you haven't seen them do before. It's that 110%.
Yeah.
And it is not easy. In fact, it might even be harder in some ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Very much so.
Because they're risking more.
Yeah.
But it's that feeling of worth it emerges. And in that case, I don't know what like in the animal kingdom, we might have multiple versions of metaphors we could attach to it. But let's just stick with lion. They all of a sudden become ravenous in their pursuit of it.
What if it was one animal?
What do you mean?
I mean, as we're talking about in the animal kingdom, like what if a lion only wanted gazelle?
Right.
Tons of different animals out there.
Yeah. Oh,
different, but they only want gazelle.
Yeah.
And they learn how to
they figure it out.
Just hunt gazelle.
Yeah.
And an absolute beast at it.
Yep.
I mean,
and then there's this metaphor breaks down because we're not really talking about tooth and claw and the survival instinct and stuff like that. It's actually about, you come to a spot where you figure out, like for you, this ability to do not just construction, but to manage and develop projects, to bring beauty into the world. That's a lot. There's a lot more going on there than I build things. But we come to this spot where we're able to do it, and then we always tag the line for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
It becomes this sacrificial act that we're doing to bring this to the world. And I think when you get that aligned right, the world then goes, oh yeah, please never stop doing that.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
Well, and it's on a competitive field too, because the level that you're developing and building in is a higher, it's like at a premium level. custom, kind of bigger scale development versus like, there are other plays you could make even in the construction world where you might say that's safer, less risky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've clearly have a competitive drive to be on a field, if you will, where the stakes are higher.
Yep.
You're having to analyze your moves, every move. It's, am I going to make the cut week to week? I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in startup mode, they're
Totally
thinking
feel
every
that way.
Tuesday's cut day.
Totally feel that
Right?
way.
I mean,
Is
am
that
I
how it is?
going to make payroll? I mean,
Yeah.
those are the real things, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point, there can be a level of arrival of success where some of that pressure is alleviated. Hopefully, at that point, those types of people learn how to self-induce that type of competitiveness rather than just get lost in the comfort and become too stable and safe, But it's interesting to see how the football field has moved now into, your development field, and you're doing a lot of that in the same way. What you're doing there, you're doing that here.
Yeah. You see the same attribute in how you're approaching development.
Right.
How you play football.
Yeah, definitely pushing, definitely pushing the boundaries. In what, I guess on the football side, it would be pushing the boundaries of what my body can do, so that come game time, I'm game ready. So I'm definitely pushing the boundaries. I have that mentality, like I'm gonna push. I mean, what I'm building in Reading, it's not normal, and so there is a little bit of anxiety behind. I'm building something that I haven't seen in Reading. And I'm going for it. And that makes me have anxiety. From time to time.
It might not work, right?
It might not.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go after it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like someone asked me, well, what if it doesn't sell? And I'm like,
That's
what?
Yeah.
I was like, who?
you're talking to the best builder in Reading.
I literally thought to myself, who thinks like that? I didn't say that to them, but I was like, that's not an option. That's what I said. I said, well, that's not an option. But they're like, no, James, be realistic with me. Is it a possibility that these don't sell?
Yeah.
And I said, I literally had to think and process it and go, oh, there is a possibility. There is like a 1%. I said, there's like a 1% chance that these won't sell. And then I thought to myself, and I go, oh, this is me doing what I do.
Right.
This is me like all in on this and knowing that it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And the fact that I even put a 1%, there's much higher percentage than 1% that it could fail. But I don't think like that.
Right.
That's just not my mentality. I know that it's possible.